Let's talk about Sony. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Luis, and since I've been doing a lot of vlogging videos, today I want to show you my Sony vlogging kit. So first, let's start off with the bag. You guys know that I am a big fan of Peter McKinnon Nomatic bags. They have, to me, the best quality zippers and just material. They're very sturdy. You guys know that I use the 25-liter bag. Well, this is the 5-liter bag from Peter McKinnon as well. Same material, same quality, 10 out of 10. I love this bag. It's really small, but one of the biggest things that I love about this one is that it actually holds its shape. It's not really a hard shell, but just the way the material and the stitching is, it really holds up the shape. And what that does is it's going to protect my camera a lot better. It's going to stand up, especially when you're traveling or you're trying to store it somewhere or under the seat. It just has a better shape for storing and carrying around. And it's going to protect your gear because of how that shape is. You can actually fit more things in here. And I'm going to show you what I carry around for my daily vlogs. As you guys know, I sold one of my FX3s to get the ZVE1, and I don't regret it. This ZVE1 is my personal camera, it's my toy, it's my YouTube camera, but it can also do some of my content creating clients, and I talk about that in this video right here. So if you want to go look at that, you can go ahead and take a look. But I absolutely love this camera. This thing has not overheated on me, and I just love how compact it is and how fun it is to use. Not to mention it has the same sensor as this FX3, so the image quality is like exactly the same. All right, so of course, we're gonna start off with the ZVE1, and that just fits inside this little cube. So this bag has one cube, and I put the ZVE1 in here. It fits perfectly, nice and snug. This is my camera of choice. Now I do keep a Peak Design plate on all of my cameras because I use Peak Design products such as the travel tripod, the carbon fiber one, which I can talk about in a different video. I do not carry that with my vlogging kit unless I know I'm gonna make a video where I'm gonna need a tripod and place it in. Typically, I just find a place to set my camera, either on a wall or a flat surface, and then I go from there. On my camera, I have the Sony on the camera, I have the Sony 16-25 2.8. I love this lens. I own the 16-35, which is what we're currently filming on. This is the G Master one. And this is like half of the weight, and it's a lot tinier. Now, Sony rumors just confirmed that it's 100%. I don't know how true this is. Don't take my word for it, but the 16mm 1.8G Sony lens is coming out, and that's definitely going to replace this. They are supposed to announce it at the end of this month. It is February, so I'm hoping I get on the pre-order for that. That's gonna be my go-to vlogging lens. So once that lens comes out or it gets released, best believe that it's gonna replace this one, and that's what's gonna be locked into this camera. But for now, we're using this nice small 16-25. I usually keep it locked at 16mm for literally everything. And the only thing I don't like about that is that with it being at 16mm, it always is like this. So when I'm vlogging like this, I'm constantly accidentally, when I grab my camera, because I don't use a vlogging tripod stick, I like to hold my camera like this. And every time I grab it, I keep pushing and I keep moving this little dial right here. And what happens is then I change focal lengths. Like I end up going back to 25 eventually because of just me holding it and putting it down, grabbing it. So I always have to check, and then grabbing it like this, sometimes I still end up moving it. So that's like my only con. Besides that, it uses a 67mm filter thread, which is amazing because those filters are a lot cheaper than your 82mm like this lens. I know a lot of people use step-up rings, but I just don't want to be putting more rings on my lenses. That's just a preference of mine. Now, talking about filters, I do use the Nisi. If you saw my other video, I do use the Nisi 1-5 stop true color filters. I have those on all my lenses. We're currently using one right now on this lens. I bought the kit that has a 6-9 stop as well, but I don't ever use that extra stop. I found out that the base ISO on the ZVE1 640 it's dark enough for 2.8 lenses, especially in like broad daylight, sunny weather like this, and I haven't had the need to use that 4-stop extra ND that comes with this. Now, when I get the 16 1.8, if that comes out, I think that if I'm shooting at 1.8, I probably will need that because of the extra stops of light, but we'll see, and I'll probably come back and update you guys on that. But for now, 1 to 5 is all I need. The reason why I really love this Nisi filter is because it goes down to 1 stop. I have had the Polar Pro ones before, which I loved also. I think the qualities are the same with this one and the Polar Pro. This one leans a little bit more magenta. The Polar Pro, Peter McKinnon ones lean a little bit more to the green side. Every filter is gonna have some sort of a color shift to it, not too bad. Polar Pro and Nisi have the best, most neutral color. The only part is that this one does lean a little bit magenta, like I said, and the Polar Pro goes a little bit green. Now, the Polar Pro goes from 2 to 5 stops, and then you have to unscrew it and then screw on the 6 to 9 stop. With this one, you leave this on, it goes to 1 stop. I don't mind losing 1 stop of light and having this thing stay glued onto my lens for convenience purposes, because when I'm vlogging, I don't want to screw on the lens, take it off and all that stuff. I want to be able to be quick, pull out the camera and start vlogging with it. So I leave these glued onto all of my lenses no matter where I'm shooting. Especially with this camera, we have the 12,800 at ISO. That 1 stop is not going to do anything to it. So that's just the way I do things. Now, I know that some people want to get that extra stop of light, and sometimes if you need it, then I guess you can take it off. But to me, it hasn't been a big deal. I shoot weddings with it this way, and I vlog in dark situations like my basement vlogs that I do. Leaving this thing on my lenses makes it feel like my camera has built-in NDs, and I don't ever worry about it. So I really don't care too much about built-in NDs. I know the ZVE1 has an amazing built-in mic for what it is, right? Because built-in mics are usually not the best, but in a pinch, this thing has a very nice built-in mic that has pickup patterns too. So it can pick up the front, the back, or automatic, like all the way around. Now that we're talking about microphones, we're gonna be moving on to audio. So in this bag, on this side right here, this bag only comes with like 1 divider on this cube. I have my Sony ECM1 mic, and I love this microphone. It's super tiny. It has amazing pickup patterns. Look at all these pickup patterns it has. You can go super directional, widen it up, super, or I think it's like an ultra directional, omni, you got stereo. This thing has a 4-channel backup audio. So what that does is that 3rd and 4th channel will record in omnidirectional. So it gets all the ambient sounds. And then on the 4th channel, you get the same omnidirectional recording, but 20 decibels below the 3rd channel, so that you get a safety track in case things clip on the other end. I keep this microphone on the auto setting for the most part. It seems like a lot of people just keep these things on auto. The whole purpose of these microphones, guys, is the convenience. Like, this thing doesn't have any cables. It's super tiny. And if you have any of the newer Sony cameras, I don't know what models, but you do have to have one of the newer Sony cameras that have the smart shoot on here. And you're able to just put that in there and it just locks like this. And now you have a full-on vlogging camera with a shotgun mic. The cool thing about this setup is that, like I said, there's no cables. So one of the problems that I was running into, for example, when I use the LAV mics like I am right now on the FX3, is that there's a little, you put the receiver right here, and then you have the little cable that comes around this way and hooks up right here. And what happens is that when you're vlogging and you flip this screen over and you do this, and you're trying to see yourself vlog like this, that cable most of the time will curve around here, and then you have it sticking out this way. So it blocks a little bit of your view when you're vlogging. It's just kind of in the way too when you're trying to flip the screen and trying to close it. The thing about the Hollyland receivers is that hot shoot, I don't know why they designed it that way. I wish it had a locking mechanism like this does, but it kind of falls off. So the cable kind of holds it in place, and it's just loose in there. It doesn't feel secure. So that's like my only gripe about that thing. Other than that, you're gonna get really good audio. As you can hear now, we're using the Hollyland Lark M2S. I do have the M2s. The M2s are really nice because you can mount them anywhere with a magnet, and they're still very tiny. And I feel like you get better sound just because of the position where you can mount the microphone. But this one is a lot more sleek. Like, look how small that is. Like, if I'm talking to you guys, this thing is very, like, non-distracting. I've used this for weddings, professional clients, for like short moments where I need to either mic up dad real quick because he's gonna say something to the camera, clip one of these on. I don't have to worry about cables and getting into a suit jacket or any of that stuff. They are amazing. The sound's really good. If you can hear it right now, this is what it is. Now to the next piece of audio, and I just talked about that, but in the same pocket, here, I'm gonna put this down. So in the same pocket right here, you can fit the Hollyland microphones. This is what I use for my wireless mic solution. Now, when you're trying to get the best audio out of your voice, I highly recommend to use a lav mic for that, unless you're vlogging and you're able to be, you know, 1 to 2 feet away from your camera. Then I would say go ahead and use one of these. Or if you want to capture ambient sounds, I just made another video before this one where I talked about lav mics and shotgun mics for vlogging. And if I was to pick one microphone to get first, I would say pick this one because it's just more versatile, especially for vlogging. Most vloggers are within 1 to maybe 3 feet max away from their camera if they're doing a talking video like this, or if they're holding the camera away from their hand, away from their you know, their body. You're not gonna have a problem with this. Wireless mics are always gonna give you the best voice, I feel like. For those, I use the Hollyland Lark M2s just because they have a sleek profile. You don't see them, they're just this tiny. And the case comes with a cell phone USB adapter as well. Right now I'm using the microphone and the receiver to film this video, so I can't show you that. But that, like I said, just goes on here, and then you get the little cable, and then you start vlogging like this, just like how I have it on right now. So super simple. I always have lavs with me and my shotgun mic. I find myself using the ECM M1 a little bit more just because it's just so convenient. You put it on, it's just nice and easy. Turn on the camera, it's ready to go. But I do feel like I get way better voice audio from these microphones, or wireless microphones. I don't know, I'm still playing around with it. There are situations where, especially when there's a lot of noise, where I feel like the lav mics is gonna be better. But to keep it very simple, guys, if you wanna capture ambient sounds, sound effects, like when you're vlogging, if you're like opening your car door, starting things, or you wanna capture birds or the sounds of the nature and your environment, then I would say go with this. If you wanna get better voice and more of a dialogue, or teach, or like you're doing like instructional videos, then I would say go for these right here. Now moving on to the next thing. So in here, guys, it's very, very simple. We have, let's see if we can see this. We'll do it this way. We have, it opens up like this. We have 3 pockets up here, and I keep 3, they're for SD cards, so I keep 3 SD cards up there. And then you get 2 pouches there for batteries. So I keep 2 Sony batteries in there. And then we do have 2 other little pouches here attached to the cube. You can put papers in there, your wallet. You can honestly slip on probably a 67 millimeter ND filter in there as well, or a diffusion filter if you use those. And then of course you got a zip down bag in here, and this is where I usually put my windshields for my wireless mics, or any of those little extra cable accessories. You can also put your charger cable in there, and then the charger, I just set it in here because when you close it, like I mentioned before, this thing keeps its shape. So as you can see here, we have a little bit of extra space in there. So when you open it, you can slip in your camera charger right in there, and then this closes. And the cool thing is that if you're out traveling and you need to just grab something real quick, you don't have to zip up the whole thing. You have this nice little pull tab here with a string, and you can just latch it on to this right here, so you can easily carry this thing like this. I think it looks really cool. It's all blacked out. You guys know me, I'm just your basic video creator that wears all black. It's super small. I can travel with it. It's very light, keeps my system nice and compact. You also do have these little things, which I just ordered. They're like little loops. So you can order the little straps that you can put through here. I have them for my 25-liter bag. And what I usually do with these straps is you can either attach a little mini tripod across from here too, if you want to carry one of those little vlogging tripods. Thinking about getting that Mantis one, and that might be like strapped on right here. I'm probably gonna strap like a little Apple AirTag in here. I might put it inside too. I talked about Apple AirTags. I could always put one here on the side as well. There's like a little, this is a cool thing. It's like a little strap. I'm assuming this is for when you're traveling. You can put this, you can slide this bag, and because it holds its shape, it'll just sit over your luggage cart and you can drag that with you. I just really love this thing. It's like about the size of like a toiletry bag, maybe just a little bit bigger, but the quality of this is very, very sturdy, and I just really love it. I highly recommend it for your vlogging kit. If you are on the Sony system and you got the compact cameras such as the A7C, A7C2, the ZVE, any of the ZVE cameras, all that stuff. Even the FX3 fits in here. Now, I did notice that with the FX3, I did have to remove this little slider because the FX3 is a little bit chunkier with that fan. So this whole cube pretty much took up the camera space. Because my camera system is very compact, I force myself to only take one lens when it comes to vlogging because I want to make things easier for me. And this setup is what I use for YouTube and anything travel related. And obviously all of my vlogs that you guys have seen are filmed on this thing, except for today we are on the FX3. So that I could show you guys my little vlogging camera. I love this thing. This thing is amazing. And as a bonus, if you guys made it this far in the video, I'd love to show you guys the settings on how I set this thing up. And hopefully that helps you guys out in your vlogging journey. All right, guys, bear with me. I do not have a screen recorder, so we're just gonna do it this way. I'm gonna hold the camera like this so I don't move it when I'm showing you guys the settings, but we're gonna start off with the main menu. These settings are also the same for my FX3. All right, so image quality, I always record on HS because it is H.265 and it's the smallest compressed file. I honestly record everything on this, including client work and everything. I love it. I haven't had any complaints. The quality is amazing on it. And if you have any of the M1 MacBook Pros, you're gonna be fine running these files. Now, movie settings, I do have it at 24 frames. I do keep it at the highest setting, 100, 422 10-bit for the best color and bitrate. S&Q, I rarely use S&Q, but I have mine set to 24, 60 frames. For those B-roll slow motion moments, I also keep that at 100, 422 10-bit. That's that. I don't use time lapse. Log shooting, I do have it on flexible mode, and then we keep things at sgamut3.cine slog3. I don't embed the LUT file. That's just I don't need that. I believe it's just like an extra file that gives you all the LUT information. I don't use proxies. And then lens compensation, I keep all of those things on. Yes, will it crop a little bit on my image and all that stuff? Yes, but I keep all these things on because it's going to give me the best out of my Sony lenses. This is the other reason why I use Sony lenses, is because Sony fixes a lot of the things, especially in the G lenses. Like this zoom one does have some distortion, a little bit of focus breathing, but with the Sony settings, like it fixes all of that, so it doesn't become a problem for me. Now media, let's see, no, that's just for formatting. Shooting mode, I don't touch any of these settings. I don't touch this setting either. Audio recording, I set that to 4. I don't touch any other settings, but I set it to 4 for my LAV mics, and that gives me around that -12 dB. I don't use any of these. Image stabilization, I keep it on the steady, on the standard, standard, and then I use active and dynamic when I'm vlogging and I'm walking around. I don't touch any of these settings. I leave everything here on default, and then I leave all these on default as well. Oh, focus mode, I always keep it on the default settings. I do keep autofocus assist off on this because I use autofocus, and when I'm holding the lens with my hand, I don't want it shifting around when I'm accidentally turning the rings around and have my focus shift to a different subject. Focus area, I like to keep it on wide, and subject recognition, I keep it on human. I have registered My face, I have everything on auto. I like to keep the box on because I like to know if I'm being tracked, if the autofocus has caught my eye. So I do like to see that. And then I do have my face in here registered. So hopefully that helps the autofocus pick up my face, because I am a vlogger and this is a vlogging system that I'm using. So I do want to keep my face registered in there. Hopefully that helps. And then I don't touch any of this stuff. I don't touch this. Let's see. Oh yeah, for custom dial operation, I think this is crucial. I don't use this camera for photography at all. I just use it for video. So these are my settings I have here for my ZVE1. On the rear, button number 1, which is the top one right there, I do have it on steady shot. That's how I switch my stabilizing modes quickly, especially because sometimes I go from walking to steady camera. So I do like to switch between those, or when I put it on my car, I use dynamic. Now, number 2, I kept it to the regular one, which is product set mode. That's when I'm showing you guys things. I need the camera to focus on the product, and I wish my FX3 had this, because I was struggling a little bit right now to show you guys all these products on this video, because it didn't have that product mode, and it does work very, very well on the ZVE1. So if you're doing YouTube, guys, ZVE1 is the way to go. This feature is really awesome when it comes to, like I said, showcasing your products that you're trying to show. Now, number 3, autofocus transition speed. I like to keep these two next to each other on 3 and 4, because sometimes I want it to be fast. If I'm filming B-roll, if I'm doing some slow motion, I'll pick up the transition speed. Also, the subject shift sensitivity, I want to be able to adjust that on the fly. And then ISO, I keep it just by default. It's on number 5. So I can quickly switch ISO. Now, the bottom number 6 of the wheel is going to be my audio recording level. That's for when I use my lavs and I want to quickly adjust the audio. I can click down and adjust the gain on that. So let's move on to the top. The top, I have white balance, because that I switch all the time since I shoot on manual. I don't use auto settings for my camera or any of my videos. With practice, I have gotten pretty fast at switching my settings, you know, so all I would say is practice, practice, practice to get the best image. And then if these settings work good for you, this is what's made me be a better vlogger and just be able to understand and know my camera a lot easier. And this is what works for me. So number 2, I have it for recording, which is just the record button on top. And then on my lens, the Sonys have that extra button. Now, if you have a G Master lens, you have 2 of these buttons, and you can assign them to the same thing. I do have it to autofocus, to switch from autofocus to manual focus. I don't like using the actual toggle switch on the side of my lenses, because I do switch very often between manual and autofocus, especially when I'm filming B-roll. I want to have more control, and I feel like if I keep using that switch over and over again as many times as I switch, I'm gonna eventually end up breaking it, or at least that's just my thinking behind it. So I'd rather just do a little push button and be able to toggle between those very easily. That's pretty much it for my ZVE1 setup. Now, I do like to keep that natural motion blur, and the FX3 has shutter angle. So it has the 180-degree rule, which gives you the natural motion blur with the 24 frames a second. And the ZVE1, we don't have shutter angle, but that's not an issue for me. You can just double the frame rate. You could just double the frame rate on your shutter speed. So for the 24 frames, ideally you'd want to be at 148, but the closest we can get is 150, and honestly it's like exactly the same. So I just leave it at 150. And then for me, I only shoot at the native base ISOs. This has the same sensor as the FX3, so I just try to stick with 640, which is the first one, and then if I need to bump it after that, I don't use any of the in-between ISOs. I just jump all the way to 12,800 and then use the ND to adjust exposure. That's the way I do things. That's the way I expose with these cameras. You can play around with the other ISO values. I have never messed with them before. I know 10,000 and like 8,000 and those ISOs there. I tried them before and they do look very grainy. I can see the difference right away when you hit that 12,800. So I don't even mess with them. I just keep it at the 2 base ISOs, just like I do with the FX3. Now on the FX3, you do have that Cine EI mode, which I assign the ISO button to click and it toggles between both of those. I wish I could do that with the ZVE1. That would make things a lot easier if I could just hit a button and it goes from 640 to 12,800. So I want to say this is my favorite personal camera. And I wish if it had 2 SD card slots, man, I'd be using this thing for client work all the time. So Traveling Bankruptly had just asked me if I could do if I could answer one of these questions for him, and that's what settings do I use to vlog outdoors, and especially when lighting situations constantly change. When it comes to lighting situations and how I vlog, I use everything in manual to get the best. I do shoot S-Log3 because it's going to give me the best dynamic range. You can recover that. And I think the question really here is, do you want to edit any of this footage, or do you just want to be able to make it as easy as possible? Because the ZVE1 is going to give you an amazing image whether you use it in auto or S-Log3. Obviously S-Log3 is going to give you a lot more flexibility in terms of getting more stylized with your coloring, your highlights, your shadows, contrast, all that good stuff. But then that does require more time out of you. But if you're just trying to do some standard vlogging, I would recommend to set your camera on auto. Now, for me, the way I do it is I'm vlogging inside and I'm at, say, 12,800 ISO because I'm inside my house and I have practical lighting, and I keep the shutter at 150 because I want to keep the same motion blur on my videos. And I know I'm gonna walk outside where right now it's sunny, everything is white, so the sun is just reflecting out of all the light is just reflecting out of everything. It's super bright. I know I'm gonna have to go down to that first base ISO, which is 640. So what I do is I'll film the part of the inside of the house up until where I get to the door. I stop the video, change, because of the settings that I just showed you, I already know I don't even have to look at the camera. I can just feel it behind here because I practice. It's just muscle memory. I go to the ISO, I dial it all the way down to 640 quickly, and then what I do is I hit the white balance button, which is the one I assigned up here, and I switch that down to 5600 or whatever temperature you want to do outside. I usually keep mine at 5600 because that's natural light. I'll adjust my ND to 5, all the way to 5, because I want to cut as much light as possible. And then I'll open the door, I'll hit record, open the door, and go outside. And I then stitch those 2 videos together as a transition in my vlog. So it looks like I went from unlocking the door to outside, and then the settings kind of stayed the same. And honestly, when it comes to vlogging, I think people know that this is a run and gun kind of situation. Vlogging is kind of run and gun. It's very simple. You're on the spot. Lighting changes everywhere. So I can totally see why people would use this camera on auto. I've actually thought about it myself. I'm actually going to play with it. Maybe I'll make a video on auto versus manual vlogging, because I've thought about this myself as well. So just to make things easier, especially when transitioning from like inside my car to going outside in the sun. My car has tinted windows, so lighting changes. Now, if you want to make things super, super easy, you can set this thing to auto, white balance, auto, ISO, and then what you can do is shoot S-Cinetone. S-Cinetone has a beautiful color profile. You don't have to color your footage anymore. You literally just go out there, hit record, start filming yourself. This thing has amazing autofocus with the AI chip. It's gonna track your face. It's gonna expose things correctly. You might need to set up maybe an exposure compensation, and what I would do is maybe do like a third stop down, so that way you're not overexposing. I think it's always better to underexpose a little bit to not blow the highlights when it comes to setting things in auto, because I feel like most auto settings, and I haven't played with Sony, but I feel like in most cameras, when you have it on auto, it always tends to overexpose things. So I would just bring down that auto exposure compensation down. But if you want to make your life easier, I would say then go for S-Cinetone and just shoot in auto, and you're going to get a great image. I hope that helped you for now, and I hope you guys enjoyed the vlogging kit here. Take it easy, guys, and keep vlogging. Peace.